Welcome to Q Aquatics and Exotics. My name's Susie, and welcome to my fish room. Let's go look around.
So come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey.
I wanted to start off with my 40-gallon breeder wall down here in my old fish room. It's 10 40-gallon breeders, and I usually name them tank 1 on top, tank 2 on the bottom, and I kind of keep track of them that way. Well, I'm going to show off the first tank, which is totally empty for very good reason, which is because it is underneath a stand that I cannot get to right now. I have to remove this stand and find a home for it. But my first tank on top is my Rainbow Ornatas. I love this tank. I love these fish. I just got them at the Bucks County Aquarium Society, and it's a deep bed of EcoComplete, and the bedding in this tank is about 5 years old. But the plants are fairly new. A lot of them are tissue culture. So I am hoping this tank develops and fills out. I would like to get some more plants soon for most of my tanks, because I'd like them better to be more heavily planted. But I do like the Rainbow Ornatas for sure. And then this next tank, which is right next to what I call it tank 2 on top, has my Congo tetras, my opaline gouramis, and it's also a 40-gallon. All these first 10 tanks are 40 gallons. It's a deep, dirted tank that with pebbles on top that I started about 4 years ago at the substrate. But this is pretty new. The Congo tetras have only been in here for about a year, and I added the 2 opaline. It also has all my bristlenose plecos. Well, not all of them, most of them. And the blue-eyed and albino bristlenose. Then down below that, on the bottom, are my axolotl tanks, which is where the parents will live. Now, I had these up on a 33 long, which was very easy to take care of, but I'm trying to get rid of the too deep so that I'm missing some of my tanks. This next tank on the third one on the top is one of my favorite gobies, is the clay goby. Dermatitis, I think it's called, the black and red panda barbs. Now this does not have a deep bed. It's a 40-gallon with a very thin layer of crushed coral and dragonstone. This tank has probably been set up for about 3 years now. All my tanks have sponge filters. Some of them have hang on the backs. And some real plants, some fake plants. And I think there we go. I got a shot of my clay goby right up front. I've had this guy for several years now. I got up in Rochester, New York when I was visiting One Fish, Two Fish ROC Elizabeth several years ago. And I got them at Carrie's store, and I really, really like these. I like this setup. I like the dragonstone as long as it's not getting disturbed with the kind of like dusty. I had it in a planted tank and it was getting way too dusty all the time. But I like it in this tank. This next tank underneath this is very new. It's a brand new tank that I just started. It is fish ready, and I have a trip coming up, so I'm hoping to get some fish. But this is a very deep bed with 2 inches sand on top. And the plants in here are very brand new. Just planted everything from either tissue culture or some stem plants that I got. I have been digging up some crypts from other tanks and moving them over. I put my staple Vallisneria towards the back in the corners. But I'm really hoping this tank fills in nicely. I don't have any hardscape in it yet, but it is fish ready. This next tank is on top. This bedding has been around for 3 years. It's a very deep dirted. I just added the sand though. And some extra Pogostamus and some plants. And I'm really looking forward to some amazing fish in this tank. This tank has been around for 3 years and has housed many a different fish. And it's the same substrate from the last 3 years. The one underneath it is pretty much a catch-all. I've got this log I found down by the river. I'm waiting for it to sink. It's all my old filters, my old decor. It's got my black moor in it, and it's a bare bottom tank, so I can keep his tank fairly clean. Even though it doesn't look like it, it is. It's just got some gravel and stuff on the bottom. This next tank is a very old bed. It's a 40-gallon breeder, but I moved my Brochardies in here. So this tank I've had set up for probably about 4 years now. It's a very deep bed of crushed coral. I just added the shells because at one time I had my Brochardies with my shell dwellers. And of course you don't see anything now. The manzanita wood is pretty new, so I've got that film on there. I'm not so worried about that. Kind of enjoy having that in the tank, knowing it's helping with the biodiversity in this tank. But for some reason, there we go. For some reason, when I come over, all these Brochardies run and hide. I've got about 4 in here. And I'm so happy I moved them from the bottom shelf up to the top shelf, so now I can see them. They're not the best top-down fish. They're much better at eye level. And of course with my famous Steenfot blue backing. And underneath that is a work in progress. This has been set up since I've been breeding fish outside, and it's muck from the bottom of my pond and anything that I could catch the babies out of and all the fry from outside, and it's just been a culmination. Now I'm trying to clean it out. But I have more than my 40-gallon breeder wall. I'm going to move on to my brackish tank. This brackish water houses my 2 mud skippers. One's about 5 years old, one's about 2 years old. And they let me know when they're hungry, let me tell you. This is a cute tank. I think it's a 37-gallon tank. It's 3 feet wide and only 12 inches deep. But it's high enough where I can fill it 3/4 of the way. I have mollies in here, which love the brackish water, and place for the babies to hide. And this is the younger of the 2 African mud skippers. They get quite large. So far there's been no fighting, and I've had them together almost 8 months. But I think I would like to set up a larger tank for these guys. But since I started with the red wigglers every week, they have gotten fat. Look at these 2 on top of each other. They are just so adorable. Absolutely adorable. I love my mud skippers. And I do like the brackish water. I wouldn't put anything in there that was slow moving that they'd be able to catch, though. That's for sure. So this is one of the very first fish I've had. My Mbuna tank. They're different Mbunas now. The babies of the Mbunas I had, or babies of the babies. But my very first tank that I set up for me was an Mbuna tank. I did the community tank and Mbuna tank at the same time. Now this is a 75-gallon. Doesn't look like there's any fish in here, but there's really quite a lot of Mbunas in here. You can see a few moving behind the rock, so I'm going to feed them a little bit to see if I can have them come out. And they're all underneath in this tunnel, like it's a very deep bed of crushed coral. Here they go. You're going to be surprised. It's like clowns coming out of a clown car. How many fish are in this tank? This is one of my favorite tanks. I've had a love-hate relationship with the Mbuna since the very beginning of keeping fish, but now that I've got the yellow labs in there, I really like them. So this one is a 29-gallon, and it is deep dirted. It used to be my quarantine tank. It's ready for fish. Still clearing it out a bit. But now I'm moving over to the widescreen aquarium. This is what it looked like before. And I cleaned it up this week, added a layer of sand, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of sand on top, and rearranged some plants from my other tanks into here. And this is what it looks like now, ready for fish. This is my 75-gallon Guy Smiley tank. It's also got some Synodonta catfish and an adopted pleco, and it's got a very thin layer of crushed gravel. This is my rehab tank. It's got fish that have lost eyes, fins, that were beat up, left for dead. I have this Mbuna in here. A parrotfish that has been in here only because I couldn't catch them. But another parrotfish, much smaller, that is missing an eye, cannot fend for himself in his regular tank. So now that they're rehabbed and are healthy again, they're just going to live their life out here because they seem to be getting along just fine. And my favorite undergravel filter. Here's my vieja tank with a parrotfish. This is a 90-gallon tank. This has been set up for quite some time. It is bare bottom. It does have a dry sump underneath it that's not set up yet. I want to build the underneath dry sump out of a 40-gallon breeder. I'm looking forward to that. And then this is the winter home for my diamondback terrapin, who has a beautiful pond outside. I just don't let him stay out because of the predators. So he endures coming inside every year. I don't think he'd prefer it. I think he'd prefer to be outside. He's my male, and I can't keep him with any of my other turtles because he's very aggressive. He has come of age, I think. Now we're going to be leaving the old part of the fish room into the hallway, getting ready to go into the new fish room, but I do have 2 tanks in here. My Tucana Jewels and their fry. And the polar blue parrotfish. Whenever they're over on one end of the tank, it's a 55-gallon. I know these Tucanas have had fry. So I'll be removing the fry this time, and I have not cleaned the tank and will not clean this tank until the fry are removed. Last time I tried to clean around the fry and the parents freaked out and ate their babies. So this is a very deep Eco-Complete tank. It's a very deep bed. It also has my Bottia loach, or the striped loach, that I didn't even realize I had anymore, but he's still in there, he's still kicking. And then here's my baby Oscar. It's a very tall, 20-gallon tall tank that I just started adding some plants to, because I know the baby Oscar isn't going to stay in here for very long, so I'm not so worried about him destroying my plants. But he is a cutie, and he does need a name. Eventually, he will go on the 180 with peaches and cream, as long as it doesn't upset the apple cart, because my 180 has been smooth sailing for quite some time now, and I'd like to keep it that way. But this has been an interesting tank to try to aquascape. It's very tall. So now we head into the new fish room, which you usually see me sitting in for my Sunday night live streams. I'm going to start off with my Tiger Endler tank. Now this tank that it's in has been set up for over 4 years with a very deep, dirted bed. And it's housed many a different baby fish, different fry over the years. But right now it's got these Endler, and it's built up quite a beautiful community. And I absolutely love these Endlers. I do. And it's got some beautiful crypts in there, and the Vallisnerio just kind of give a haircut to every couple weeks. And I threw in some guppy grass to try to alleviate some of this hair algae, which I'm not fond of, but I'm not opposed to in this tank, especially with all the fry. But as you can see, I've had a deep dirted tank since I saw Dustin talk about it 4 or 5 years ago. One of my favorite tanks here. And now is my 75-gallon. This one I started 2 years ago following the Father Fish method. And it's a 75-gallon. It's got my lemon tetras in it, a couple of albino hoplo catfish, my king pleco, my acaras in here. There are some coolie loaches. I really like this tank. It is starting to come into its own after 2 years. It was getting very dusty all the time, and Father Fish advised that I start adding some more sand without burying my plants, which I did, and it's cleared up beautifully. It's just cleared up beautifully. Every once in a while I see some fish in here that I don't remember that I have because I never get to see them. But the coolie loaches come out for food, that's for sure. And then underneath that is my Cares species tank. This is a 40-gallon breeder. I made it the same time It's a very deep dirted fatherfish method also. And I use the same plants, the same mud, different aquascape. Both tanks have hang on the back filters still because, it takes a couple years for these really to be self-sustaining, and I'm not looking for the easy way out. I was looking for something that was very efficient. So for now, it's still got the hang on the back filters. I'm sure that they'll be removed when they stop working. Then I'm throwing in my fire belly toad enclosure. I love these frogs, I really do. And I know it's not fish, but it is a 40-gallon footprint in my fish room. And it has a tiny pond in there. As you'll see, he's going to jump right into it. And there's two of them in there, a male and a female. And I got a couple of new pieces of wood in here that I really love. Some of the plants, they don't really destroy the plants, so that's pretty cool. I got the ficus and the Fittonia and some pennywort, and then I put some pennywort on the ground, and it's just taken off like crazy. So I wanted to show off a little bit of this 40-gallon front opening tank because it is right in the middle of my fish room. And now I'm going to move over. Right next to me on my live stream are my blue angelfish. This is a 29-gallon deep dirted tank, 5 years old, but just last week I topped it off with about 2 inches of sand. 1.5 inches of sand, I'd say. And I've also got my Pandagara, my favorite algae-eating fish. They do an amazing job. I think I've got 5 or 6 Pandagara in here. And I have the 6 blue angels, which I would love for them to breed. I'm waiting. But I've got a funny feeling they might all be females because there has been no breeding behavior whatsoever. And this is a little 29-gallon dwarf discus tank. I got these discus. They were already dwarfed with no promises that they were going to stay alive, no promises that they were going to grow. But so far they are thriving. They do very well in this tank. It's because it's a 29-gallon. It's very easy to keep at 84 degrees, 85 degrees. And then I set up this 33-gallon long. It's ready for fish. Also father fish method. It's been set up for about 2 weeks. It's deep bed. Got some plants in there. It is ready to go. This has place that's on the end of my desk, so it's something I look at while I'm in the fish room all the time, and I like it. This was a pleasure to record because I sit next to this tank. It's right up above off the ground, and I usually see it from top down. So I almost didn't recognize while I was editing it because I never get to see this tank from the front view. But there's 3 or 4 lipstick goby in here. I do believe there's a celestial pearl danio floating around, swimming around, and a white cloud mountain minnow in here. And this is a deep bed of Eco-Complete. And it's probably a mixture of a bunch of old stuff, but looking at this from this view is not what I see every day sitting at my desk. This one I see at my desk. It's a little 5-gallon crushed coral shrimp tank. And unfortunately I mixed a whole bunch of different Neocaridina shrimp because I really didn't expect them to stay alive. I have not had luck keeping Neocaridina shrimp. Just a mono shrimp I can keep for years. But so far they seem to be doing very well, and they're propagating. They are breeding. And I'm really happy with this tank, and I'm happy that it's on my desk and I get to see it all the time. That is pretty cool. It might not be very fancy, but it's working, so I'm not going to try to fix it. If I had known better, I would have kept it to one specific color of cherry shrimp. This is Triton, my Trimac, and he unfortunately is in a 55-gallon, desperate need for an upgrade. I would love to get a 180, or minimum 120 for this guy. And I'm looking for a tank. Anybody know of a free tank? This tank, my 180 was a free tank, and it's got peaches and cream, my orange Oscars. It's got Van and Go, my 2 Starry Night cichlids. It's got Jackie, my Jack Dempsey, 3 Bashirs, and a handful of silver dollars. And this is what I see all the time. I love it. And this is my quarantine tank. It's an old Odell 55 gallon, 3 foot wide, but it's 55 gallons. It's extra tall. And it's got, who's quarantining? My Severum, my yellow Severum. And my last tank is this little 5 gallon CPD tank. I'm thinking about mixing it in with another tank, but right now they're doing okay. Now I do have another 7 or 8 tanks upstairs, but this is my fish room. My new fish room and old fish room tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you want to see more.
Hey, everybody, it's Susie Q. Hey, everybody, it's Susie Q. Nah, hey, everybody, it's Susie Q. So come along with me. Said I'm Susie Q.